Minnesota author and former college professor John Harrigan's latest novel is now available on Kindle. The Jeeptown Sock Hop is set in the 1950s. Harrigan's two main characters are a 15-year-old white youth and his African-American girlfriend.
The story is trying to show two central characters, reacting to a specific setting. In this case, the setting is a gritty industrial town of the Midwest in the 1950s. The characters, Charlie and Clarice, live on opposite sides of a very sharp racial divide, religious divide, and class divide in this city. And they become enamored with each other, but their friendship is hampered by friends and relatives who really don't want them to be together. So what they do is they try to create some socially acceptable means where they can be together. And they hit upon the idea of starting a dance band and then organizing a sock hop that will bring the black and white kids of the town together doing the same thing.
For those who missed out on America's sock hop craze, Harrigan the novelist has a brief description.
A sock hop was a dance in the 1950s, usually held at a gymnasium, where they made the kids take their shoes off so they wouldn't scratch their floor and dance in socks, and so they called it a sock hop.
Among all the potential settings for the novel, John Harrigan chose a fictional place that he calls Jeeptown.
There was an industrial town of the 1950s where Charlie and Clarice grew up. It was the town where the Jeeps were made. If it had been Akron, it would have been Rubber Town. If it had been Chicago, maybe it would have been Meatpacker Town. But none of those have the ring of Jeep, which of course was a cultural icon coming out of World War II in the 1940s.
While plans for the sock hop go forward, Charlie is leading a double life and carrying out a secret vendetta.
Unfortunately for Clarice, Charlie comes into this relationship with some baggage. Some of this baggage she discovers early on, especially his extreme sensitivity about his limp, about his dysfunctional family, and about his alcoholic father. But the one piece of baggage that he lives in dread that she will find out about is that early on in the story, he is sexually abused by a trusted adult. And Charlie has this need for vengeance to get even with this adult. What he wants to do is to get this adult fired from his position of responsibility where he was able to recruit kids for his own sexual purposes. And pretty soon Charlie is leading a double life. On the one hand, he's carrying out a consistent pattern of dirty tricks against this adult. On the other hand, he's acting toward Clarice in a very, very tender way, and he's building up the dance band in an extremely effective way. The sock hop turns out to be a winner. They sell enough tickets that their band is guaranteed to have a profit. They're able to enlist other kids in the planning for the sock hop, and they're beginning to get black and white kids working together on this. The thing is really developing nicely. And as it develops, Charlie's feeling of vengeance toward this trusted adult begin to abate. Then, on the very eve of the sock hop itself, on the very night before the dance, Charlie's feelings get out of control. And he makes one final assault on this trusted adult who had abused him. And everything explodes. The results are disastrous, especially for Clarice.
Harrigan says the lengths to which Charlie goes to carry out the vendetta is realistic, even for a 15-year-old.
We know that children who are sexually abused go through a period of torment about what happened to them and what it means for their lives and for their sexuality. Many of them, most of them probably grow out of this and go on to live satisfied, productive lives. Some don't. But in probably all of these cases, there's something left deep inside their soul. There's a great story about one of the great boxers of our time, Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray won a gold medal in the Olympics in 1976. Then he went on and he turned pro. As a pro, he won over $100 million in purse money. He was world champion in 5 different weight divisions. And until he tried to make an ill-fated comeback after eye surgery in the 1990s, he had lost only one fight as a professional boxer. So here you had, in this toughest of sports, this toughest of tough guys, having this marvelous career. Yet there was one thing about Sugar Ray that his friends never understood. At certain moments, his eyes would tear up, and he'd have to go off to a corner and cry. And nobody could figure this out. Then, recently, Sugar Ray came out with a memoir, with a biography, in which he explained that. These moments would happen when something would trigger a memory of an instance when he'd been sexually abused as a child. Now, if one of the toughest of tough guys in the toughest of sports could be brought to tears simply by the recollection of a moment of abuse, you got to believe that somebody like Charlie could react in the way that he did.
John Harrigan's novel takes place amid the racial, religious, and class divides of an industrial city, with the white protagonist being Irish Catholic, like the author himself.
If I had grown up Lutheran in Milwaukee, perhaps that would have been the setting of the story. But it turns out I grew up Irish Catholic in a gritty industrial town along Lake Erie, so that becomes the setting for the story. But in a sense, it shouldn't make any difference. You don't have to be Jewish to appreciate the stories of E.L. Doctorow. You don't have to be black to appreciate the autobiography of Malcolm X. And this story ought to be able to be appreciated by people without regard to ethnicity. The key features are there. If you've ever had a cross-cultural friendship, and most of us have, then you're going to want to find out what happens to Charlie and Clarice. If you've ever had a friend or a close relative who was victimized by child abuse, you're going to see some of that behavior reflected in Charlie.
Harrigan says that even despite what Charlie and Clarice go through, on a scale from 1 to 10, the Jeeptown Sock Hop is uplifting.
Oh, this is a 10. Charlie and Clarice deal effectively with the hand that's dealt them. Their love affair, of course, well, I can't tell you whether it survives or not, but they both go on to live productive and self-satisfying lives as adults.
The Jeeptown Sock Hop is available as an ebook on Kindle.
Just go to Amazon.com, type Jeeptown into the search bar, and click on the buy button.